Good morning. Sorry I'm not here today, but today we had scheduled a time to talk about the results of the first debate, both to hear your feedback and for you to hear my feedback more importantly. So we're still going to do that. However, I'm doing this through video rather than actually being live there. And unfortunately, this will eliminate the possibility for you to ask me questions, but you can still take lots of notes and take my feedback to improve your performance on the next debate. Let's start with a little bit of a writing activity. I'd like you to take out a blank sheet of paper, and at the top you can write your name and debate response. Um, Below that, I'd like you to write 4 comments about yesterday's debate. Your first 2 comments should be positive. I'd like you to write something that you saw that seemed to work about yesterday's debate, and that could be just about anything. However, the more specific it is, the better. And then I'd like you to write 2 negative comments about yesterday's debate. So tell me about 2 parts of the debate that you thought could be improved. And once again, that could be just about anything. You may write comments that were aired yesterday after the debate, comments that you or other students made, and of course, if you were participating in yesterday's debate, this will be very valuable for you to give me feedback on what you thought you did well, what you thought you did poorly, and what you thought your partners or opponents did well and did poorly. So you should take a few minutes to do this, and the substitute will pause the playback on the video, and when all of you have finished and turned in your papers to the sub and everything's been collected, then you may restart the video. So go ahead and pause now, the instructions are on the board, and complete this little writing activity. Okay, hopefully you've finished the writing activity and the substitute has all of those writings. If not, please make sure to pause and turn all of that in because I'd like to check them once I return to school. But let's continue with the discussion. So first, I want to talk about the notes that I took regarding your feedback. I'd like to summarize what I heard in the discussions both in Period 3 and Period 5 yesterday about what you liked and didn't like. Sometimes this is the same as what I liked and didn't like. In fact, often it is. But I'd like you to pay attention to everything that I say and possibly take some notes to help you improve your performance. First of all, you liked eye contact. The audience seemed to notice when the speaker was making consistent eye contact, and they appreciated that very much. And the audience seemed dissatisfied when a speaker made little or no eye contact. Now remember, you don't have to memorize your speech, either speech. However, you should know it well enough that you can make occasional eye contact with your audience. Don't completely bury yourself in your notes or your script. And that's a little bit tough sometimes on a rebuttal, but remember that for the rebuttal you're improvising a lot of this, so sometimes when you're thinking you can make eye contact. For the constructive speech, you should prepare this beforehand such that you can make consistent eye contact throughout the speech. Audiences liked the rhetorical questioning that Amma gave in third period. For fifth period, I'll tell you a little bit about this. Amma was able to ask questions of her audience, make rhetorical questions, and sometimes conduct little informal surveys, asking students to raise hands, how many people have their driver's license, and so on. The audience liked this. I liked it. It's interactive. It makes the audience pay attention, helps the audience feel like they're part of this, connects them to the subject. So this informal survey was excellent, and I actually wish that Amma had made a little bit more use of it in her speech, had discussed the results of that informal survey and the rhetorical questioning. So when you ask questions, this is a good technique to stimulate audience participation and interest. If you're asking survey questions, then talk about the results. You could possibly even count the number of hands and discuss what that means for your case. You liked when students had prepared questions. You felt comfortable when they had a script of questions to ask. And of course, you can prepare questions in a script. You don't have to do that entirely. You can, of course, go off script and improvise questions, and you should. And you should ask follow-up questions. But having a list of prepared questions helps, and the audience appreciated it. You liked consistent pacing, and I saw a lot of consistent pacing yesterday. Saw a lot of students who were not fumbling, pausing, And something else I appreciated, and I'll tell you this up front, I appreciate it more when a student ends a speech a little bit early than when they decide to pause and sit there and stare to gather their thoughts for a while. So if you are in the middle of a speech and you lose your train of thought and you pause and you stop during a rebuttal and you're not quite sure what to say, um, that's not quite as good as just ending the speech. Ending firmly is always a good idea. And the audience appreciated when the speaker spoke clearly and consistently. You liked when debaters clashed on specific details. That means that one speech addresses a detail and then somebody else's speech or a question draws attention to that detail and reinterprets it. You like when somebody pays attention to the evidence and the details that are being provided. It makes you feel like this evidence is necessary, and it also helps you understand the evidence. So especially rebuttal speakers, when a piece of evidence has been proposed and you disagree with the interpretation or you disagree with the evidence, the interpretation of a statistic, you think that statistic is irrelevant perhaps, then discuss it. Make a direct reference to it. And the audience liked when debaters were clashing on these points. You liked the clear analogies. In third period, Brad made an analogy between the teaching of driving and the teaching of horsemanship, pre-automobile, teaching people how to ride horses. And he claimed that just as schools were never responsible for teaching people how to ride horses, they shouldn't be responsible for teaching kids how to drive at age 16. The audience liked that analogy because it was very clear and seemed to support Brad's position very nicely. You liked a clearly structured rebuttal. In fifth period, we saw two rebuttals that were very clearly structured. Each point was made clearly, and it was easy for the audience to follow. It didn't seem to ramble. Each idea progressed from the next, almost as if the speakers had a noted outline in front of them and they were going point by point or number by number. But you did feel that those points should be supported with more evidence, more discussion. It was very clear, but it wasn't as in-depth as it could be. And especially in fifth period, you felt that some debaters missed opportunities for interesting clashes. And this really goes down to the brainstorming issue, as we discussed in fifth period. You need to take the time to brainstorm every possible argument, af and neg. You need to do that and keep those notes. Sometimes you won't use those, sometimes you will. But fifth period sensed that the debate missed a number of opportunities to discuss interesting clash issues that the debaters had just missed or ignored. And I felt that too at times. So make sure that you are doing some proper brainstorming outside your summary, outside your speech, just a list of talking points that you might address, either in supporting your own case or in trying to attack somebody else's.